How are you, Larry? How's it going?
I'm good. I'm great, actually.
Yeah. Last night was your guys' preview night, right?
It was, and it went really, really well. And even though, there are always a couple bumps and hiccups
Yeah.
in a preview, and of course, I'm sitting here thinking it went great. This was terrific, and everybody else, because they cast so well, these exceptional actors are like, yeah, but, and like, we can do this and this and this and this and this and this. And so all they want to do is like, how can we improve it? How can we keep making it better?
Well,
And
that's a wonderful way to start. I mean, you guys really put on a hell of a preview night. So if that was a bad night, then, I can't wait to see what a good night holds.
yeah, me too. But I mean, it also just kind of speaks to the professionalism of the cast. I mean, that's like the first place they went is how can we improve this? So,
Well, let's start from the beginning. Let's have you tell us in your own words what exactly is the show and what is the event, because it's a really interesting format you're doing here.
yes. So Dark Arts was originally a proscenium show, which pulls from or exaggerates quite a bit from my regular ongoing job as a crisis public relations consultant. And crisis communications and PR is basically, most people think of it as spin doctors. I actually don't like the term because the only clients that I tend to take are ones where I don't need to spin anything. It's just people or corporations or trade associations or organizations that for some reason are under attack in the media, and illegitimately so. And so this was an area that I have never seen really, truly kind of covered in popular culture. And it's interesting and fascinating and revelatory about the power structure that goes on that nobody sees, that influences everything that goes on. And it seemed also sort of just ripe for political satire. So I wrote the proscenium show and, kind of put in this romantic subplot. And as I was sitting there thinking about it, and in the midst of writing it, I went to the tension experience and just was blown away by immersive theater. And I thought, how can I somehow work that into this show? Is it possible? And then I had this idea of, well, what if we do this structure, which I don't think has ever been done, which is you do sort of a kind of a short immersive prequel where you have people come in under the conceit of getting a personal consultation from these crisis PR managers who skew a little bit towards, helping people out with, personal issues. But the drama is, really about the crisis managers themselves and the romantic subplot that's going on there. So you sort of onboard people into the story and the characters, and then they'll come to the proscenium show, and the proscenium show will be informed by the participants' experience in the prequel. So rather than just have two people walk on stage who you don't know, you actually do know them, and you probably feel like you know them intimately, given the way these immersive pieces go. And then the show naturally sort of ends kind of on a cliffhanger, which is how I originally wrote it. I wanted the audience to just make their own decision about what happens. And then I realized, well, wait a minute, we can tack on a finale here where people can come back and without giving too much away, they may or may not be able to influence how things turn out for the two main characters in the show. And so I thought, let's blend these two media of immersive and proscenium. And Clint Sears, who wrote Tension Experience, said, it's a great idea. I was thinking, maybe it's too much. He's like, no, do it. So he really pushed for it. And so, with 2/3 of it now that we sort of have experienced in previews, it's kind of going along the way I hoped it would.
Well, I mean, it's just a really fascinating way to go about it because, having done both the Prelude and now having seen the proscenium show, I was really, you kind of answered my question. I was really impressed and intrigued by the idea of, wait a minute, some of the things I said in my consultation, and I, spoke with other audience members after the fact, they had the same experience. It seemed like things that we had said had made their way into the show. And was it a coincidence? Was it intended that way? And it seems like it was actually intentional. And that's kind of a level of engagement that I haven't really seen before, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah, thanks. It's, the notion also of trying to bring immersive people who maybe aren't into proscenium shows, to kind of give them a reason to kind of remember the proscenium is part of the intent. And likewise, flipping around, people who are interested in the proscenium but don't know what the heck immersive is to kind of give them a, toe in the water immersive experience that isn't exactly, tension or, any of the other more horrific experiences.
Well, one of the things I liked about it so much, and we can talk about the meet and greet portion as well, but arriving at the show last night, I already had an investment in the characters, having not even seen the proscenium portion of the play yet. So I like the idea of you're setting up your characters, you're setting up your storyline ahead of time. Can you talk about maybe what kind of seeding of ideas you were doing in the one-on-one sessions, and maybe talk about the experience of the meet and greet?
Yeah, so that the idea there was, again, all right, we have crisis managers who handle corporate stuff. What if we instead say, all right, let's try something with like the general public on more personal issues, and see what kind of response we get. And we were both sort of humbled, frankly, and really moved, because we sent out a questionnaire saying, okay, so what crisis or, issue is going on in your life? And people came back with some very, very personal stuff. And we were really surprised, because what we expected was stuff that was sort of very concrete, like I can't get my neighbor's dog to shut up or something like that. But instead, they really themselves invested emotionally. And that was great for us, because now we have to look at this and say, all right, how can we address what this person is experiencing, first of all, in a way that makes them feel like they've been heard, and that we can offer them something in the way, philosophically, of what to tackle. Because a lot of the stuff that people came in with is stuff that, I or Stephanie or people we know have experienced themselves. So at least we had a sense of, okay, we can give somebody something to kind of give them some vision of what they may need to do to move on with their lives. But it's all done in a dramatic context. So we're not real crisis managers. We're actors in a drama. And so we also tried the best we could when people came in to elucidate our story and what was going on with our characters, so that people would identify with us. And I don't know if it worked or not, but in some cases maybe allow people to reflect on what may have been going on with them and say, well, okay, but it sounds like these two are kind of having some trouble too, so that they can maybe offload their own struggle and find some compassion for us and take the burden off themselves a little bit. That's what we kind of hope drama will do.
Well, it was really kind of a fun moment while I was in the waiting room waiting for my consultation, and the two crisis counselors, Klein and St. Jude, it seemed having something of an altercation before I went in. I could kind of overhear them yelling, and it was just a really interesting eavesdropping moment. And then I come into the room and they were very professional with me and all. But the thing that was interesting was one of the first questions that came up didn't seem like it was about me. It seemed like it was about them, but under the guise of kind of an asking for a friend. And it was an interesting way of seeding a plot point in advance of the show. So I thought that was really well done.
What can I ask you?
Yeah.
Because we haven't really spoken with people. What was happening with you emotionally out in the hall as you were hearing what you heard and when you got that first question?
Well, having gone to the meet and greet already, I think I came in with a little bit of an upper hand, because I already knew a few plot points that I perhaps shouldn't have known had I just come into the prelude sight unseen. So I already knew from the meet and greet that Klein and St. Jude had been working together, but they had also been involved in a romantic relationship, that was somewhat controversial, that a reporter had outed them, and that there was some tension going on there, no pun intended. And then I guess an assistant had quit because of it. So coming to my consultation, I was already concerned, what is the professional relationship between these two going to be? But then when I started hearing and kind of seeing the shadows of you guys arguing in that room, it made me question, how effective are these people going to be with my crisis if they're, undergoing their own? So when I came into the room, and the first kind of thinly veiled question directed at me was about two professionals working together, and what if one of them told the other that after their breakup they had slept with someone else, what would my response to that be? I in not so many words said that seems a little harsh. And very pointedly, St. Jude turns to Klein and says, that does seem a little harsh, I'll make note of that. So I love the idea of, I'm there for my consultation, but I'm also getting a glimpse into their internal struggles. And it was kind of a fun way to kick things off, I thought.
Great. And you know what? I just realized you asked about the meet and greet, and that was separate from the consultation. So let me jump back and reference that.
Please.
Yeah. So the meet and greet concept was literally just sort of a whim, which was, let's experiment. This immersive is a wide open area. Let's experiment. Let's try something and see what we get out of it. And of course, because I have fearless actors, Stephanie Hayden, who was playing Lindsay Klein, Damien Gerard, who is Max Waters, Terrence LeClaire was playing Bill Catterwall from the FDA. It was actually my sister, Robin DeLea, who was playing our assistant. We said, okay, let's drop down into this speakeasy downtown for a couple of hours, and let's feed everybody, a select group of people that already brought tickets for the consultation. Let's send them like a newsletter from this reporter named Cheryl Harrison, and she's kind of a gossip muckraker, ambitious. She's a total snake. And just to kind of give people the tiniest little bit of information of Klein and St. Jude, it sounds like they're romantically involved. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh, the congressman is going to be holding an informal town hall at this speakeasy just to hear constituents, concerns. And that's it. And let's see what happens. And what happened was interesting was, people showed up. They hung out for 2 hours. And we didn't tell management we were coming. And they really were annoyed with us, I think. But what was interesting was that really it helped the actors tremendously because we were able to completely improvise. We had a couple plot points we needed to get across. That was it. And the energy of the evening flowed in directions we just simply didn't expect. For me and Stephanie, the conceit was, we'd just gone out to dinner. We were going here to this nice, quiet speakeasy. And yet we get there and it's like, what the fuck? How did this whole place suddenly become crowded? Oh, Christ, there's that congressman. Oh, my God, there's Cheryl Harrison, the reporter. And then Cheryl starts bothering us, and pestering us for, quotes and comments. And so now we're getting all annoyed. And suddenly the evening took a whole different turn in terms of what we expected as actors, but it allowed us to kind of really help continue to find our characters. And filtering back from word, that was coming back from some of the participants was that they at first were like, what is this about? What's going on? But they sort of gradually started to, as they talked to people, just get the little pieces and beginnings of, who are the characters going to be in Dark Arts? So it was a completely extemporaneous thing, and in a way it's almost like kind of feeding breadcrumbs so that people would kind of, okay, I'll try this, and then we'll do the consultation, then we'll get to the proscenium show, and then, you kind of then back off, the other side of the hill, and you go into the finale. So as an experiment, I'm really intrigued by it. And, I think obviously the inspiration from it kind of comes from the whole ARG concept. And using that as a way to onboard people into your world. And so for a first-time immersive creator, it's been really, really educational and so far really gratifying.
Well, it's definitely an interesting format, and I think that there's some really exciting future for this type of experience where you're combining the proscenium and the ARG element. Can we just talk for a minute about Bill Catterwall?
Bill Catterwall, played by Terrence LeClaire, yes.
Bill was our favorite of the evening at the meet and greet, in that I could not put my finger on if he was human or robot. I mean, he was just behaving so bizarrely. And, what was one of the really exciting moments for my friend and I was we were sitting there chatting with the congressman, and she notices out of the corner of her eye this very bizarre, very nicely clad gentleman kind of moving bizarrely and staring at us with this grin on his face. And she goes, this guy is looking at us. And I said, no, he's probably just some weirdo. And then, gradually I start to realize, no, this guy is staring at us. And then it became apparent that there wasn't just one or two actors in the bar. The bar was filled with actors, and there was something very exhilarating about that. Upon speaking with Bill, who was an FDA employee and very interested in meeting fellow government employees, it became evident that Bill had some issues. Maybe you could talk about your inspirations for his character and what did you actually intend?
Well, what's funny is I literally have no idea what Terrence/Bill did that evening. I still don't. I don't know who he talked to. I don't know what he said. We just talked about it and said, this is his character. Go do that. And apparently he did. The intent both there and in the proscenium is he kind of represents the soulless, robotic, but yet, happy as a clam government employee, who just found his calling, and his calling is, I know everything I'm supposed to do. There's a book, and I can read the book and know everything I'm supposed to do. And this makes me so happy because it means I can't do anything wrong. So it's perfect. It's perfect for me. And Terrence, brought his own interpretation to this role where, he just finds this sort of joy in who Bill Catterwall is, and the sort of excitement that he finds in working in government. And he really is sort of meant, especially, and you get a lot of lines in the proscenium about this, he's really sort of meant to also represent the complete soullessness of the bureaucracy of government. In the very sort of Terry Gilliam way from Brazil. It's like, if you've ever been able to or been forced to endure, where you're caught in a government nightmare of red tape, how frustrating that is. And that the employees not only don't care, but they don't care because all they do is they live in the box that they have been told to live in. And that's why it's insane trying to extricate yourself from a governmental nightmare. And that has always spoken to me, because there's just, in most cases, simply no need for it. And the fact that, government isn't about people. It's about rules and regulations. That's it. And as I discovered, and here's a little tip for the audience, which is anytime you're caught in a bureaucratic nightmare, you will be able to find some kind of manual somewhere online that says everything about that department and what it's supposed to do and what the rules and regulations are. So you can defeat them from the inside out if you just find the manual and realize which column and category you're caught in and what you're supposed to do to get out of it.
I love that. Bill. I love that. Bill just cares about the nuts and bolts of his job, if you know what I mean.
So to speak, yes.
Well, it's a really exciting show, and it's a really exciting format, and I'm right in the middle of it right now. I look forward to finding out how this all ends. Is there anything you can tease for the finale, or is it just a wait and see kind of thing?
Well, I think the only tease is be ready for anything, and what you say and do may or may not may or may not determine the outcome for both the characters and the firm and possibly people beyond that.
Wonderful. Well, is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners or viewers or readers in whatever format this ends up?
Yes. www.darkartsplay.com for tickets. The immersive finale tickets are only available there. The Hollywood Fringe site has more information. And I just a little while ago received an email from the writer from BuzzFeed who was so kind to call us the most anticipated show from Fringe this year and say that it was a terrific show and there's a good review coming out possibly today or tomorrow. So that's nice. So yeah, go to the Fringe website and come see the show.
Well, wonderful. It was a pleasure talking to you, Larry, and I wish you break a leg with the rest of your run.
Thanks, Cara.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.